This has got to have Putin shaken. Russia's ruble diving as oil prices just keep dropping and dropping. But want to really drive Vlad mad? Steve Morris says pass the Keystone Pipeline, and he'll be smoking a pipe. Well, he didn't say that just in so many words, but all that extra supply would hurt him more, right?
No doubt about it. And by the way, you're exactly right in pinpointing Vladimir Putin as the big loser in these huge reductions in oil prices. And by the way, now gas at the pump, which is a big stimulus for the U.S. economy. I would only add to that, let's not forget that the other loser here is ISIS and the terrorists who are trying to kill us, who are funded with petrodollars. So every time that oil price falls, it hurts the terrorists right in the wallet. So this is a good news story, no question about it, for the consumer and for national security. But you're exactly right. This could be so much bigger story if we promoted this out of Washington in a bigger way. That starts obviously with building the Keystone Pipeline, and we need pipelines all over this country, not just Keystone. We need to build a pipeline infrastructure because we have so much oil and gas, but we need to do other things. I mean, my goodness, we need to get rid of, did you know there's a ban on exporting oil and gas in this country today? Neil, that makes no sense. I mean, we want to supply Europe with oil and gas so that they're not dependent on Russia.
And by the way, that's one of the reasons the president has used for not supporting Keystone, that it would benefit those abroad. I always say if we're getting the money for it, if it's here and whatever, a benefit to the world, net new supply. Having said that, though, how seriously do you think this is worrying Putin? Because he and a lot of his oligarchs and billionaires are feeling the pinch. And normally when that happens, sure leaders become very unsure.
You've got it exactly right. Look, Russia is an energy economy. That's all they've got going in Russia right now. I mean, there is some technology, but that entire nation is being financed with this natural gas money. If we're producing more oil and gas in the United States, every additional barrel of oil we produce is another nail in the coffin of Vladimir Putin, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
But wouldn't it also, there's a flip side to this, maybe a crazy flip side, that it emboldens him to get his hands on as much oil-producing regions as possible. He maybe presaged that with Crimea and what he's doing in Ukraine. He might be looking at other facilities where if he got control now, he'd be protecting himself. In other words, it makes him more of a monster.
Well, it's hard to see how he could be more of a monster than he is already. I mean, this is a guy who, but look, I would make the point, how is he going to finance the military? I mean, truly, this could bankrupt Russia because they are so dependent on oil and gas money. They were flying high, Neil, as you know, when the world price of oil was $110 a barrel. He ain't smiling with the price now down to, what, $67 a barrel today. I mean, my only point is, I mean, this is so important, Neil. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We could become, in the next 2 or 3 years, the largest energy producer in the world. We can start, when you talked about, you know, producing it here for home, we will have enough oil and gas if we start drilling on public lands and so on, not only to provide our own energy needs, but also to export this stuff to countries like Europe and other regions of the country, so I mean the world. So it's an enormous upside. The only thing that's really holding it back right now is Washington. The EPA, the Department of Interior, which is not allowing the drilling to going on. You know this, Neil, but it's worth repeating. If you look over the last 6 years, all of the increase in oil and gas development has been on private lands. None of it on net has been on federal lands.
Very big difference and an important distinction people sort of gloss over. But not you, Stephen.
Well, and by the way, there's a lot of oil on that underneath that federal lands. And we're not talking about Yosemite and Yellowstone.
No, everyone always says we're going to blow up the national parks and all that. But you're quite right. Steve Moore, thank you, my friend.